Grace and peace. This week, our topic is called It's in How You Look at It. And we are exploring some theologians that we otherwise might not. The first theology it's Mujerista theology, and Ida Maria Asase Diaz is the theologian most noted with this type of theology. She is a Cuban American Catholic theologian, and every quote from today's devotion belongs to her. So, Mujerista theology is devoted to the liberation of Latina women, and it makes the preferential option for Latina women. This theology, as Ida Maria Sosadias would say, is grounded in the importance and the necessity of self-determination, and it allows Latina women to construct something in their own terms and not in the shadow cast by the Anglo. So, this self-determination begins with naming, and to name oneself is the most powerful act that a person can do. A name provides the conceptual framework and the point of reference, the mental constructs that are used in thinking and understanding and relating. So having the right to name is not only important for an individual, but also for a movement. So that's why the Mujerista theologians insist that this movement be named by them. And it's not just liberation theology, but it's Mujerista theology. So this kind of theology presents a challenge to all theology. So whether it's white female centric or feminist theology, and it's a really wonderful, wonderful approach. So Mujerista theologians wanting to claim, they would say, their space in the garden to plant their own flowers. Claiming their own space means redefining what is normative in those spheres and in society in general. So this is a form of liberation theology, but its emphasis is in praxis, emphasizing the ideas that are put into action. It understands what James, in James chapter 2, verse 26 says, that the body without the spirit is dead. And so it is that faith without works is dead. Works in the spirit, in the Christian life, animate it, and it brings the gospel to light. So we have to understand our theology in the life that we live. So for Mujerista theology, there are three primary facets or tacks. First, it enables Latinas to understand the oppressive structures that almost completely determine the daily life. So this means that to liberate one's self, you also have to liberate your community. You cannot put it on the mantle of privilege. You have to fight to overthrow privilege itself and the power structures that maintain it. And that's the essence of what it means to be a Latina woman. La vida es la lucha, right? The struggle is life. So second, Mujerista theology insists on and aids Latinas in defining the preferred future. So Gutierrez, and other theologians like James Cone. So this theology is a self-determination and has as a prerequisite to full liberation. But liberation isn't something that one person can give another. Rather, liberation is something in which the oppressed must become an active participant. So the process in which the oppressed are protagonists, with the power to self-determine one's future, comes the hope that the future can indeed break into the present. I know that's kind of complex, but It's really important for this theology. So the third part of Mujerista theology is enabling Latinas to understand just how much they have already they have already bought into societal systems and that prevailing system. So they have to become aware not only of that oppressive power structure, but also the internalized oppression. So it is a self contained theology from a specific cultural and historical context. And I know it sounds a lot of head structure and work there, but the heart of what's happening here is that you have to understand the everydayness of the life and the struggle of the person, the woman herself. And these experiences are the foundation for the theology. And you can't overestimate or underestimate any characteristic. So it is from our individual point of view that theology is not only understood, but it's lived out. So if you've tuned in to any of our Bible studies, the Church Without Border Bible studies, you've heard Pastor Scott and I talk about this orthodoxy versus orthopraxy. So orthodoxy is the stuff you believe, right? So it would be the creeds that we say. Orthopraxy is the way you live your everyday life. It's the practice of living. Mujerista theology is everyday life. It is the practice of living. This is what this theology is based in, and we have to be aware of our everyday life and the community's life and how all of this ties together, how all of our experiences and the subjectivity of being here. This is as important, or maybe more, than all of those books of systematic theology and biblical theology and all the stuff we're going to find in the seminaries. And this enables us to understand God with us. And what has guided Mujerista theology from the beginning, Asase Diaz concludes, are those wonderful words that started this devotion. Miriam, in the book of Numbers, says, has Yahweh spoken only through Moses? Numbers 12, verse 2. And Mujerista theology answers as Miriam does. No. There are other voices speaking. This is an amazing, amazing theological perspective. We all have a theological perspective to bring. May we listen to one another. Amen.